You are now locked in to the Beyond the Hashtag podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Hashtag podcast. I'm your host, Stephen, and I'm here with a very special guest. I've got professional footballer, Wealdstone FC forward, Ira Jackson with me. Thank you for joining, bro.
No problem at all, man. It's a pleasure.
It's good to have you on, man. Yeah, Ira's not just a footballer, though, and we'll get into it later, but you're an author, clothing brand owner. Yeah, you're doing a lot of stuff, so it'd be good to hear more about what you're doing and also your views on some of the topics that our listeners are definitely passionate about listening to. We're going to, speak about both your career, some of the topics going on in discrimination in football at the moment and your views on them, a bit about Black History Month, because that's what we're in at the moment, October 2021, and yeah, just a range of different topics that Beyond the Hashtag covers, and just getting Ira's views on them, especially from someone who's in the industry and very involved in many different things. So yeah, it'd be good to get your view on those, bro. In terms of Beyond the Hashtag itself, this is the first episode we're recording since we won our BT Race Equality Awards. I want to thank everyone who's given their support, not just to the podcast, but especially inside and outside of the business, and allowing myself to be recognized in that sense. It was a very big achievement, and the exposure we got from that was amazing. So thank you for everyone who's literally just even given a word of encouragement since we started the podcast a year ago, and just more encouragement to you guys to keep, not just engaging with the podcast, but if you have anything to say, feedback, to suggestions, just DM us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, just have a conversation with us, because it's myself, it's a couple of the guys behind the scenes who work on this, but we want to continue the discussion and have more progressive conversations and eventually lead to pushing for action. So I just wanted to recognize that and shout you guys out for your support. But without much further ado, we'll get into the episode and bring Ira into play with about your career, Ira. So, just give us a bit of an overview of your playing career to date, and sort of, from start to where you are now.
Okay, so that's a long time. I've been playing football since I was 4, so that's about 20 years now. So, I started off in Kent playing football with the Brazilian Soccer Schools Academy, which is like a technical development program, much like what they now call futsal. Is what I was doing from the age of 4 on a technical program, and then played for that team. It was called Club Brasilia for about a year before I went to Derby County, and trained with Derby County, played with Derby County for a few months before they offered me a deal to sign like youth papers with them. But obviously, because I lived in Kent, my parents were like,
yeah,
we're not sure we're going to be committing to that one, even though they're from the Midlands and my family's all in the Midlands. They weren't sure if they wanted me to move back there.
Not to Derby,
So I kind of came back down to Kent. I went in on trial at Gillingham, and did really, really well. Ended up signing youth papers there. Stayed there for 7 years until I was 14. Got released. And then spent 2 years just not playing football. Really, I played like school football.
Oh, wow.
And then went back to Brazilian soccer, like proper full-time sort of thing, like the 20 hours a week that we used to do when we were really young. Just did that and did school football. And then I ended up getting trials after playing like 6 or 7 games in a non-league team. Ended up getting like trials with Man United. West Ham, to be fair, was probably the one I would have wanted to go to most, because they were interested in me when I was younger. But that didn't happen in the end.
Yeah.
So I went into non-league, started playing first team at 16, and kind of spent a few years trying to get myself a pro contract, working hard, training full-time while doing my A-levels. Went to Burton Albion at 17 and spent half of a season there. And then turned down going and doing a second year scholar with them because I wanted to finish my A-levels. And then I got my A-level results back and I was like, I regret that decision. I got my first year results back and I was like, yeah, maybe I should have done it.
Yeah, should have done the football thing, yeah.
No, it was it. Yeah, exactly. So obviously stayed in non-league. Then after I finished my degree, I got a contract with not my degree, so I finished my A-levels, got a contract with Dover. So that was kind of my first professional contract. But it wasn't obviously in the Football League. And I turned down 2 Premier League under-23s opportunities to go there because I thought, it's close to home. It's first team football. If I play 20, 30 games here, then I'll be going into Premier League under-23s with a bit more clout, like to push for first team. Then that backfired because I only ended up playing 4 games. And then after that, to make matters worse, I got offered a trial at Guiseley, who were in the National League at the time, up in Leeds. Went there, was slapping off. I was about to take another shot. I think I'd scored like a hat trick in the training game. Went to take another shot. The guy stamped on my foot, and I tried to pull my foot away as I'm shooting. Broke my foot. So then that's my season done.
Gone, yeah.
Literally season finished. So the story about that injury is I was meant to be out for 18 weeks. They told me you're not supposed to walk with the boot. Literally just stay in bed for the first 6 weeks. That'll help your recovery. I was up walking, doing everything, whatever I wanted to do, because I was like, I'm not sitting here and doing nothing. Yeah. I went back 5 weeks after that because the physio was busy on the 6th week. So they said, just come in 1 week early. Like you're probably going to need another 6 weeks anyway, so it's fine. Went in there, saw the physio, did the consult with them, and she was like, "Oh, everything seems to be perfectly fine. Like the bone's overgrown, it's back in its normal, like the edge of your foot, like it's grown over, so then it will shade down over the years. But yeah, everything's fine. Like she asked me to do like some tests, asked me to do jumping, asked me to do balancing on the broken foot. She was like, yeah, like you seem perfectly fine now. Like I don't see any reason why we should keep you in a boot for another 6 weeks. Like,
so that was at 11 weeks, was it? Or what?
11
weeks. Wow.
After 18 weeks, they said I'd be able to maybe run again.
Wow.
So this is at week 11, and she's telling me like, "Oh, yeah, you're fine. Like, you can go out and play if you really wanted to." I was like, "I don't really want to because the season's almost done, so there's no point." But I'm gonna go in the gym and I'm gonna get ready for next season. As soon as I left, I had like 7, 8 clubs were like, "Oh, we want to sign you. Like, you want to come to us?" Like offering me good money and stuff. And I was like, "No, I'm not really interested at the moment. I don't even know what I want to do. Like, I want to go to the right club, but I don't think that's you." So I waited, and then 2 weeks later, the Folkestone manager called me while I was in the middle of training. I was doing a run, like a fitness run. I think it was a Cooper run I was doing at the time. And I had my headphones in, and I heard as I ran past my phone, I heard my phone ring. Yeah, because I had like a little MP3 player that was playing my music. But as I ran past my phone, I had my phone ringing. So I was like, "Do I stop now or do I?" I carried on going. So I was like, "I don't know who it is anyway." I was like, "I don't know who this is. If it's my dad will call back." So then I'd finished the Cooper run like 5 minutes later, and went back to my phone and I was like, "Oh, cool." I called the number back and I was like, "Oh, sorry, I don't know who this is. But I just missed a call from you." He's like, "Oh, it's Neil Cugley from Folks." And I was like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And he was like, "Oh, have you found a club yet?" I was like, "No, like there's some clubs that are interested, but I'm not really interested in going there." And I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Would you be interested in coming and signing for us?" I was like, "Well, I've wanted to play for Folkestone for a couple of years. Folkestone was the first place I lived in. Yeah. My brother played for Folkestone. So it was like, after that, obviously, the end of the season, came back in the summer, signed again. And that was the COVID season that got curtailed. But I set my goal target. The start of the season, I set my target to score 40 and assist 15 in the season. I wanted to set outrageous numbers so that I could do well. And then I went out and in 3/4 of the season scored 26 and 9. That's why in the summer I went to Grimsby, which was a massive step up in terms of, obviously I'd never played first team in League 2 before. So it was a very interesting experience for me, and there were so many ups and downs within that one journey of that season.
Yeah.
That it was just like an experience. I call it an interesting experience. That's the only way to describe last season. And then obviously December comes, sorry. I finally get a chance to speak to the manager. Manager's like, okay, cool. Like, I don't really want to be playing you, but I'll give you a shot because you asked me to. And because I wouldn't stop bugging him about it. And I told him about his business. So he gives me a shot in the end, come off the bench, score on my debut.
Mad.
And then he gives me a shot in the next game and starts me, to be fair. And I scored in that game as well. And then 2 games later, he leaves. And then a new manager comes in, and this new manager is not having me at all. Like, he doesn't find don't rate me. I think I'm better than I am.
Oh my days.
And literally, he was like, look, you're not gonna play for me, basically. And I was just like, I don't actually understand that concept.
Yeah.
Because currently I'm the second top goal scorer in the team, right? And I've only played 3 games or 5 games. So I'm thinking, if you need anybody, you need me.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? But he wasn't having it. And then I managed to convince him through my training performances and game performances that I was worth playing. And then it got to the end of the season. I started getting a few man of the matches here and there, which I don't think he liked at all because he didn't want to play me.
Obviously.
And then we have a conversation at the end of the season, and he's like, look, obviously you've seen, like, I'm trying to do things differently, blah, blah, blah. And I don't really see you playing for me next season. And I was kind of relieved to hear that, because I was like, I don't want a manager that's going to be acting like he wants to play me when I know he doesn't.
Yeah.
So I could tell from when he came in and we had one conversation and he didn't know what position I played, I could tell that this wasn't going to work. So I said, like, fair play. I said, like, do you want to just pay me up now then? Like, so I can go and find another club, or what's going to happen? He's like, oh, no, you come back in, you'll still do pre-season. And then we'll see how it goes from there. And anybody that knows me knows I don't like that phrase, see how it goes.
Yeah. You want direction, like clarity. Yeah.
There's no vision. There's no vision whatsoever. There's no clarity at all. I don't know what I'm doing. You don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, you know, but you're not telling me. The whole of summer, I was kind of plotting, like, how do I get out? And it was tough because obviously when your team's just been relegated and you hardly played, people are looking at you like, if you weren't good enough to play for them, you're not good enough to play for us.
Yeah.
And also the stigma of you've just come from non-league and you've gone into a team and you've not played, you've not done anything really. But it just depends on how you dress the stats up as to whether you think I've done anything or not. But yeah, so then we have that season. I come back in pre-season and I get a text the day before saying, oh, can such and such and Ira, can you report to this certain training ground because we're going to be training with the youth team? I said, huh? said training with the youth team. And obviously I'm not one of these people that I'm not saying I'm training with the youth team like it's bad because I'm arrogant. I'm saying, like, what have I done to deserve that stigma of training with the youth team? Like, if you didn't want me, you could have quite easily just cancelled my contract, paid me out, and I just go. But to bring me back, pay me, and I'm not even training with the first team. It's like, I don't know what
where
they
are we
were
going?
trying to, I don't know what they were trying to achieve, because I'm not one of these people that will come on an attitude and not train properly. I'm still going hard, even with the kids, like, because I want to improve for myself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here for anybody else. I'm here for my career.
Yeah.
So I don't know what response they were looking for. I came in every day with a smile on my face. I'm ready to work. Like, this is my job. You know what I mean? Because I've worked for this for years. And it just got to a point where I was just like, look, the amount of money I'm spending traveling to get to training and that, like, and they're not trying to push me out the door. Like, they're not trying to say, look, all right, we're arranging a loan for you, or here's a club that we've recommended you to go to.
Yeah.
They're not doing none of that. They literally want me to sit there and rot.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not doing that. I saw a preseason running by. I'd only played 45 minutes, and that wasn't for Grimsby. I'm thinking, nah, I'm literally not gonna. If I keep going like this, I'm gonna miss the start of the season.
Yeah.
I ended up missing the first 4 games of the season, because I didn't have a club. I was at Grimsby, but I didn't have a club.
Yeah.
So I just said to them, like, look, I've got to go. Wealdstone had shown a bit of an interest, but there was nothing concrete from them. So I said to them, look, I'm going. Let's sort this out as best we can. Mutually agree. Whatever you want to say that you've done, we already know what this is. So I cut the contract, gone. And the day it's announced, I get no short of 10 clubs message me directly.
Wow.
Are you interested in coming to our club? But I'd spoken to Wealdstone, and I kind of liked the manager and the environment that he was talking about, what he was saying, and it gave me an opportunity to get back down south. So I kind of just said to him, like, yeah, let's do something. When do you want to do this deal? He said, tomorrow. I said, huh?
Yes.
So he said, look, this is what we're offering. Blah, blah, blah. Says all of this. This is what we want for you. This is how we see that you're going to work in our team. I said, cool, I'm on it. Ended up signing for them the next day. And obviously the rest is history. Gone there, scored on my debut.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
The next game.
It was mad.
For a high foot. Let's just say I won't be controlling the ball that high in the air ever
Yeah.
again.
I think Griezmann did it yesterday, if you saw on the
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the journey so far. It's been an interesting experience, and I don't think I would be able to cope with so many rejections and so many things that you can't put your finger on why. If I didn't know the game, if I didn't know I had a purpose in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, man, thank you, bro. And there's a lot to even unpick from that, from how different managers have treated you, from like how, you like the ability that you've got and the interest that club's showing you, but then just things just not sticking in the right place, and then there's particular reasons for all of that. But right now you're at Wealdstone. Would you say you're happy? Is it like somewhere you can see yourself, obviously depending on how well the team does and how well you do, but staying, for the medium to long term, or what's the sort of next steps, I guess, from there?
The next steps is I have goals, I have plans, I have a destination I need to get to.
Yeah.
And this is the next bus stop. So it depends on how long it takes for me to fuel up to get to the next destination. That could be 6 months, that could be a season, that could be 2 seasons. But I have a plan, and ultimately I need to take care of business. Yeah, this is my priority. Yeah, I'm not focusing on where I want to be. I'm focusing on getting there. So yeah, at the moment, the responsibility for me is to bring something to Wealdstone that we don't have right now, which is killer instinct. And goals that kill games off. Yeah. Which is something I know I can do. So it's just a case of, obviously, now that I'm back, being given the opportunity to do it, getting the minutes, give it a couple of games, and just get back into my flow as well. So, yeah.
No, sick. And funnier question. Have you seen or experienced the Wealdstone Radio yet?
Yeah, I met him the day I signed.
What is the deal with that? Because I guess from outside we only see him as like, this funny meme that's been, or is ages ago now actually, but like is he just a fan, or like what's the deal?
Yeah, he's literally just a fan, but obviously to be fair, he didn't like, obviously he didn't know I was signing, so I just turned up to training. He was like, oh, can you sign this? And I'm like, all right, cool. It wasn't that deep to me.
Yeah.
He's just another guy sort of thing. Like, but to other people, like, apparently they invite him out to their stag do's and all that sort of stuff. So I'm thinking, like, this guy's breading up. Like,
yeah.
just for one thing that he said.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. Like for me, I'm not one of these people that get starstruck or anything. So I'm just like, I respect the person before I respect their gift. Like,
yeah,
if I don't rate you as a person, I don't care how
doesn't matter what
famous
you do.
are. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like you could be like the next king of England. Like, I'm not really interested. Like, if you don't have a good character, I'm just looking at you like, okay.
So yeah.
Yeah.
No, facts.
So,
Yeah.
But yeah,
No.
for him, he's just a stand-up guy, really. He doesn't seem to have let the fame get to his head. He seems still like a fan of Wealdstone. So, yeah.
No, cool. But yeah, no, thank you for sharing your journey, Brian. And one thing I actually must clarify, especially for the watchers and the listeners, you're still in your early 20s, aren't you? Like, how old are you again?
I'm 24. I'm 25 in January.
So even the story that you told, like that's enough to like last the whole career, basically, like with all the movements that you've done. And
literally.
it's just testament to like footballers that make it at any level, like how much they have to go through, even the ones who, because for a lot of people on the outside looking in, but I'm a fan of the game, so I kind of understand. But there's so much like graft and hard work that goes into it. So when you get people right at the very top of the game who are, let's say, earning the money they do, getting the fame they do, but the journey that they've had to go to get on that, and like someone like you who is like, you know, you're kind of flirting between the non-league and league kind of tiers, like that, the journey that you've even gone through, and then if you scale that up to the ones who've like made it to the Champions League and international level, like the journeys that you guys as footballers have to go through to make it to pro and then to stay there is just like beggars belief, and the sacrifices that you and families have to make along the way is just it's crazy. So it's more testament to you, and I always like kind of tip my hat off to footballers who make a career out of being a footballer, because the grind is so real.
Yeah, it's mad. It is mad. Like your schedule doesn't line up with anyone.
Yeah,
that's the worst thing about it.
Yeah,
asking people, oh, do you want to go out for lunch? I'm working. I'm like, bro, this is my day off. How are you working?
Yeah,
but you're remembering that they've
got 9 to 5. Yeah.
So
no, it's mad. But I can see even like from you the passion that you have for the game. And on that as well, have you always been a football lover in terms of like have you always grown up watching the game and like immersing yourself in the game? Because I heard an interview like the other week from Ben White, who doesn't like never watched football really as a kid and doesn't really watch football now. Just it's more, you can kind of tell it's a job for him. But like, has one of the things that's fueled you and kept you going this long because you're actually a lover of the game?
I love analyzing the game. I don't actually necessarily like watching the games.
Okay.
Unless I know it's going to be a good game. I'm not one of these people that would just sit there and watch like, you know, like there's certain people that watch any game of football.
Every game,
like,
yeah.
They would watch like Sheffield Wednesday versus Doncaster.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a dead game.
Yeah.
I'm not watching it. I'm not interested. Like I'm not watching that game. Unless I'm watching it to see who I'm better than, I'm not watching the game. But like, or if I'm playing one of them teams, then I'll watch the game. But I like highlights. I love highlight reels.
Yeah.
Like if you put on, I could sit there all day and watch Gareth Bale highlight reels.
Yeah,
Neymar
Ronaldinho,
Ronaldinho, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, Robin, all of them, Robin van Persie. I could watch them highlight reels. I could sit there from 10 at night till 5 in the morning, and all I've done is watch Robin van Persie highlight.
Yeah.
Like, because I love watching people at their best. So when I watch football games, I'm not one of these people that likes to sit there and be like, oh, he's crap, and critique players. Like, if I watch Pogba, I'm not watching him for defending. That's not what he does.
Yeah.
I'm looking at him and going like, how many defense splitting passes did he do? Like, how many people did he beat in 1v1? Like, how many shots did he take? Like, how many times did he chest the ball and flick it over someone's head?
Yeah.
Because that's the way I play. I'm not watching this guy. Like, I'm not his personal coach.
Yeah.
Whereas fans, like, that's why I don't support a team, because I think playing football is stressful enough. Like, I don't need to sit there and give all my emotional energy to a team. Yeah, like, why, bro? I've got a game at the same time as you're playing. I'm not interested in your result. Like, do you get what I mean? I'm not fussed whether you win or whether you lose. Like, if Man United lose and Pogba's played well, I'm happy. If Man United lose and Ronaldo's played well, I'm happy. If PSG lose and Neymar's played well, I'm happy. because Neymar played well, but I don't care about PSG or Man United or City or any of them teams. City's probably the only team that I watch to enjoy the whole team. Like,
Yeah.
just because I love Pep. But then if Pep went to Bayern again, if Pep went to Newcastle, I'd probably love watching that team because I like Pep.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I enjoy just watching football.
Watching football and analysing, yeah. Nah, I hear you. So, bro, I want to get a bit into the racism discussion, and because it's such a hot topic at the moment. So on the podcast we cover discrimination in football as a whole, but as a Black person, especially, I'm sure like you're very aware of the experiences of racism in this country, and on the upper end we see the Euros, what happened after England, like missed the penalties and everything that's happened to Sterling, Rashford, and Pogba, etc. All those players in the past, but I'm really keen to hear from you on a non-league level and all the experiences you've shared, like your take on racism in English football at the moment. It's quite a broad question, but I guess from a personal side of things, like how have you felt like discriminated against because of your race? Have you seen like situations of abuse and how they've been handled? Just what comes to mind when you think about racism in British football right now?
I think it's something that everybody needs to care about, and everybody needs to discuss. But I kind of take a different stance to it than a lot of people. I think a lot of people use it as a crutch as to why they haven't succeeded. Whereas I think it's something that we need to be aware of, but I think it's only something that we need to be aware of to the point of change. Like it shouldn't be something that we need to be aware of to the point of complaints, because ultimately it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there's racism in life in general, never mind in football. But until we get to the point where our solution, because many people that I speak to about racism, and I said to them, okay, what would you do if you were creating systems in the world to reverse racism or eradicate it? And most of them say, oh, I would make white people go through what we went through. Well, then you don't understand the concept of eradicating racism, because essentially you want to get yourself into power so that you can do exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And I kind of take it from the tact of how Jesus operated when he came to the earth. Is Jesus didn't come in, hate the system, and then repeat the system. He came into this earth, disliked the system, and created a new culture and a new system. And I think if we would intentionally get more people into power who have the right agenda for reversing racism or removing racism, if we had more representation, if we stopped vying for positions where we can just create Black teams, like being coaches or being managers, and just having Black coaching staff or whatever, if we stopped buying into tokenistic roles, this whole let's put him in the job application process because he's Black, I don't buy into that, because essentially you're doing it to tick a box.
Yeah, not for ability.
Not because you actually want to employ the guy or want to give him an interview. So these football clubs that don't want to hire Black managers for whatever reason, maybe it's because they're not qualified enough, because some of them might not be. Maybe it's because of their previous track record. All I would like to see is, can that be generic across the whole board? If you're not going to sign, let's say, if you're not going to get Sol Campbell as your manager because Sol Campbell has not done well at every club he's been at, he hasn't got promoted or whatever you want to call it, okay, then don't go and get a manager in who has a worse track record than him, but's managed more clubs. Because what sort of experience is that? He's failed more times. But you want to give him the role because, I don't know, whatever your reason is for giving him the role.
Yeah.
I think those sorts of things, my recommendation to Black former players or current players is, if you really want to make a change, why are you not getting involved in the legislation side of the game? everybody wants to be a coach, but you're not in any position of power being a coach. You're under first of all, you're under your chairman. Your chairman might have prejudice and discrimination. You never know whether he's white, whether he's Asian, whether he's from wherever. He might have a prejudice, and it might not even be to black people. It might be to anybody.
Yeah.
So you're under his leadership. You're still under the system of the game that institutionally favors people who are not black.
Yeah.
You're still under the influence of the media, because as a manager, you don't want to say the wrong thing just in case. So
it backfires on the club. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're not really in any position of actual effective change. Yes, you can go and bring in more black players to your club, but then again, is that really dealing with the issue that we have, or is that just sugarcoating over it? I think if you really, 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 really have a problem with racism in football, what you would do is you would be vying for positions in FIFA, in the FA, buying football clubs, because then you can be a club that creates change. You're the decision maker. You can employ a manager based on expertise, based on statistical analysis, not based on your personal preference. But something that we have globally around the game is football is a game of opinions. I don't agree with that, because the second you say football is a game of opinions, then an individual who is specifically being racist or specifically being discriminatory can cover it in, no, it's just my opinion. I didn't think that he was qualified, and I'm the owner of this club, so it's my opinion. If we really wanted to deal with the issue, we would deal with it, first of all, on a global perspective in life. Because I think when you isolate football, it puts football and the people in football in a place of power that I don't think they really do have. Like, before they were involved in football, they were human beings. So they didn't become racist when they joined football.
Yeah.
Football isn't a racist sport. Football's not like a racist anything. Like, it's just a sport.
Yeah, it's the people who...
Exactly. If you put a football on a football pitch, it's not going to start blowing in the wind towards a white player and not blowing in the wind towards a black player. Like, it's not going to deflate when it gets kicked by a black player and pump up when it gets kicked by a white player. It's not. I think that's the issue, is that we say there's racism in football. No, there's racism in life. Okay. Anytime you have people problems. Racism is a people problem.
Yeah.
And people are involved in football. People are over football. People are controlling the legislation in football. So I think one of the biggest things is for us to stop desiring this, oh, let me be a football manager. Like, I was having a discussion with someone the other day, and they were like, oh, why do you think there's not many black managers in football? And I said, well, there's two reasons. One is because they don't think they're going to get a job. And two is because they might not actually want to be a football manager. Like, they've already seen the stress they've been through as a player. You really think they want to now be a manager?
But they don't even have the control.
It's not. That's not good for your mental health at all. And I think that's one of the reasons why Raheem Sterling didn't take a penalty at the Euros.
Oh, the Euros, you think?
In the final.
He didn't want that pressure.
I personally believe that. I don't think he wanted... I think he thought too much about what would happen if he missed. Then he was like, look, it's not worth it. I'll let somebody else do it. And I think that's a shame that England's best player at the Euros didn't take a penalty because of whatever reason, potentially because of the backlash.
Yeah.
And when you have people in the game that strike that much fear into somebody that they can't even do their job properly, I think that's a big problem. And if we really, really, really cared, which I think this whole kick it out thing I don't personally think it works ultimately, because you can say kick it out all you like, but you have people who have their own agendas on Sky Sports talking about players. So do you really want to kick it out if you're not looking at your own issues or looking intrinsically and going, okay, well, who are we actually putting on our platforms? And if we see that this person is consistently ostracizing one player, but we
Do we
keep putting
G-check
on.
them? Yeah.
Like, do we deplatform them and say, look, I'm sorry, until you dealt with your personal issues with whoever this person is, then
You
I
can't
don't
come
think you
back
should
on.
be allowed to come on. Yeah. Because do that with somebody that violently abuses somebody. We would do that with somebody that gets in trouble for domestic abuse. We do that with, like, for example, Jamie Carragher after he spat on the little girl. For a while, they took him on. So why do they not do that for a problem that is, let's be honest, it's much larger scale than one small action? Yes, they're all bad, but this is a much larger scale thing, because this is actually a preset mindset that this person has about individuals they know nothing about. They've never spoken to them. They've never been at their house. They don't know how they were raised. They don't know their character, but they want to now talk about it. So for me, my problem has been that I'm not like your typical Black person. So they expect me to be. Then they hear my voice and they're like, wait.
Whoever heard that before,
Why
bro,
do you not?
it's too real.
Yeah, like, and then like stuff I get is like, oh, are you from London? So every Black person's from London. Like, no, I'm from Kent. Like, my family's from the Midlands. I was born in Kent. I'm not from London. Like, do you get what I mean? And like, obviously you can look into things as much as you want, but for me, I think my biggest problem has been the perception of Black people can easily get rubbed off on everybody. So they can assume before I've even said anything, oh, this kid's gone out at you. And I've actually had a manager tell me the reason why we didn't sign you is because we thought you had an attitude problem.
And you asked them, like, what examples have you got to?
And then I played for them, and they were like, I don't understand why the hell I thought that.
But it's just preconceived, like,
but it's one of those things, like, let's say, for example, you look at my career as a player, I've had lots of clubs, right? That will be perceived. He's got an attitude problem. He isn't good enough. He's fallen out with the managers.
Like kind of a Balotelli kind of.
He might be a bad egg. So that's where I find it difficult to ascertain what to put my finger on. Is that a racial thing or not? So that's why it's kind of a gray area, because nobody ever wants to say that was strictly because I was Black.
Of race,
and I think that fear in itself lets so many things get away. Because there's things that people know are racist. They know are discriminatory, but they don't want to say it because they don't want to seem like that guy. That
playing the black card, the race card, yeah.
But the fact that I have to even question that shows that there's a bigger problem. Because why do we even have to deal with it in the first place? Why should I even have to think that somebody personally does not like me because of something I can't control? Why should that even enter my thought process? Why should I have to walk into a football club and make sure I don't shake the Black guys' hands first, just in case they think I'm part of the same crew as these guys?
Bro.
But for me, the thing is about me, I'm always going to be myself, so I do not care. I've never been one of these people, that is into cliques and stuff. So even if a manager tried to say, like, oh, you only hang around the Black guys, rubbish. I hang around everyone. I have my own relationship with each other player, each other group. I do not care. I was like that in school.
I was
just
saying,
hang around the Black people. I'd be sitting with the goths. I'd be sitting with the emos, everyone, because I'm a people person. So what do we all have in common? If it's an anime show, and you guys like that show, and I've never watched it before, but I'm interested in anime. Okay, let's chat. Let's talk about it. Tell me how good it is. Like, do you get what I mean? And I think for me, I think that is kind of what bamboozles people in the game. Is this guy is educated? He's chosen a degree over football many times. This guy doesn't speak like your typical Black kid. This guy isn't into bling. This guy is a Christian.
Yeah, all the stereotypes that.
I've had coaches, like you probably get girls all the time. I'm thinking, what?
Right.
He's like, you're probably a wild one. I'm thinking, since when? Like, have you seen my social media? Like, have you seen my parents?
Yeah.
Imagine me trying to do that. No way. But again, some of them try and say it in a playful way, but it's still fueled by something. So it's understanding these little nuances and kind of saying to them, like, no, like, that's not the way I operate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't do that. That's not my values. And I think people respect you more for that than for you laughing along with it.
Yeah.
Because I think when I was in secondary school and people used to say the N-word and that, I would laugh because I didn't know how else to respond.
Yeah, no, so yeah. That's very real. Yeah.
Now it's like, if somebody was to say it, even black people, I'd check them straight away. Like, do you actually know the meaning of that word and you're using it? Like, even if it's in a song, like,
doesn't
why
make
are you
it right.
using that word? Yeah. And you're now empowering people that you say are racist to say that word because they hear you say it. So when it comes to football, I think we need to, not even just football, but in life, I think a lot of us have become mental slaves rather than physical slaves. So
especially in this country.
100%. We preempt our own downfall because of racism before it's even happened. So that's the other side. Yes, some of it is there, and some of it's institutionalized. It's in sports, it's in government. Solution-wise, for Black people, can we not cap ourselves? Can we stop creating too much of our own things that we actually create two separate worlds when we're supposed to actually be bringing them together? Black this, black that, black this, black that. Why do we need that? Like, can we not just have that on its own and integrate? Because if you're going to create a world that's just a black world that has no white people in it, you're creating the same thing as what was already created. I don't see that as a solution. Of course, support Black people, build Black people. However, don't create almost like a false economy where, oh, this is the Black economy. Like, the economy is the economy, okay? We're all pumping money into it. Like, we're all building the economy. Why do we need our own one? Like, let's be realistic. It's easier for us to get into positions of power and create positive change in the current economy than it is for us to start 400 years behind new one, and build our own one, which is already 400 years behind. So that's in infrastructure, technology, all of these different things. So why do we not infiltrate the one that's already running and create the world that we believe or we say we want to see, which is an equal world where all people, Black, white, Asian, are accepted and loved for themselves, not for their skin color. Yeah. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah. No, bro, that's powerful. And there's a lot to unpick. And even just firstly, credit to you for the kind of spirit that you got, because I can even just see, like, not just being a people person, but the kind of views. And you're right to say you're not a typical person when it comes to these discussions, especially from a Black perspective, because a lot of people don't step out and see the wider perspective of, okay, if I'm creating a Black economy or like supporting Black businesses, which is good because the reason for that is because they've been underappreciated in previous years. So it's bringing them up to that level. But it's like, once you get to that equal level, it's about the integration and bringing them together rather than, like you said, overpowering and kind of reversing what was done like hundreds of years ago to make one race on top, because that's just the same thing. And that's what I have some understanding to why people have that in their hearts, because of the anger and the pain, but it's like, that's not the society we want to get to, because that's not what equality is about. That's not literally in the word and the definition. That's not what it's about. So I can definitely appreciate that. And then from a football perspective, and as you quite rightly mentioned, and it's always important to know, this is a people issue and a life issue, not just a football issue. In my opinion, but because of the impact that football has, it's I always would like to see football kind of be the kind of shining example in a lot of what it does in terms of like, if you're looking at top-down approach to racism, if there is, like you say, more Black people getting involved in the legislative side of football, the executive side of football, like the positions that actually have some control and power, then hopefully that can be replicated in other industries, music industry, entertainment, acting, whatever. Then, but I think especially in this country, because of the reach and impact that football has, it can definitely do a lot of things to be an example in that front. But equally, someone could argue that the acting industry, I'm not too knowledgeable about other industries to know how much infiltration can be done and how easily it could be done. But I can definitely see gaps where football can do those kind of things and be a shining light in that front.
Yeah, I think in music and in the entertainment industry, in terms of acting, it's a lot better than it is in football. But I think it's because those people dared to dream that it was possible, their way to get there. I don't think brought it to their mind that, look, I'm going to get to the top of football and I'm going to create change.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they care enough. They see football as a game. They don't actually see football as how much influence there actually is.
Yeah.
They get to the top of football and then they go and put their influence in something else.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas what we're seeing Marcus Rashford do now in terms of create governmental changes when he's not in parliament, that's the influence has. That those followers, that voice, that influence, that impact can be had. But I don't believe, this is where I wouldn't blame it on white people or the system. Do we have any Black people that actually believe that they can get to the top of the game in their career and go afterwards into the executive legislation side of football and create impact? Or do they not care enough?
No, it's a big question, yeah.
My problem comes with us as Black people is, have we become so comfortable in our dysfunction that we are just going to sit here and talk, but actually do nothing? Because it's all well and good saying it, like, oh, if I got to the top, I'd use my impact for this, I'd use my impact for that, blah, blah, blah. But everybody does exactly the same thing. When these top footballers that are Black get to the top, what do? Everybody wants to set up their own clothing brand so they can earn more money. Everybody wants to invest in, I don't know, like houses and all that property and stuff like that. Okay, cool. That's helping you. Who else is it helping? Because that 200, 300, 400 pound jacket that you're making, for 15 pound and selling to the Black kid because he sees you as his idol.
Yeah.
With the 400 pound that he don't have, how is that helping? It's not. If you really want to create change, you actually get into legislation, you get into rules, you get into the institutional side of the game. Yes, coaching is great and all that sort of stuff, but that doesn't create top tier change. It creates surface change.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And there's, like you said, there's levels to how much change we can make, because there's the influence of players at a lower level, and then you can aspire to be a manager and start integrating more, having a more diverse squad, for example. But then, as you said previously, you're under the thumb, let's say, of your owner, of the club, of the media, whatever. There has to be more aspirations, especially in the Black community and people who feel discriminated against, to like you said, dare to dream, to get to those levels and actually realize what level they have to get to influence change. And that's where we need to, I guess, have these more conversations of solutions of what we can actually do to influence change and to put those solutions into practice, and not just talk and moan and complain kind of thing. And I think that's, I sympathize with people sometimes because there's a lot of pain that goes into it, but there has to be some individuals who make the sacrifice and look beyond the pain and the suffering to say that this is how we can actually move forward and can actually drive and improve change. And then eventually, if they have the right message, they'll get the masses behind them naturally, and then the masses is who give them the support eventually when they get into that position of power to have the influence to make change. Yeah, so there's a lot to unpick, and then speaking from a Black perspective as well, but then also speaking from like the other side, so like white people in power and kind of allyship and that kind of thing. There's stuff for them to realize, but I think there's it has to be met in the middle. So it has to be the push and the pull force where like, white people who care enough about this issue are kind of pulling down the old structures like bit by bit, but then also Black people and Asian people who have been discriminated against are pushing against it. And then eventually, ideal world, you meet in the middle, and that's the dream society, I guess. That's just how I see it.
But also I think we need to all be on the same page.
As well, yeah. Which we're definitely not way far from it. Yeah.
Black people, we're not on the same page when it comes to racism. Because we have a couple of tokens who are like, well, no, it's not that bad. So if we're not on the same page, then the same will continue to happen, where a few people will slip through the cracks, get on Sky Sports or become a TV presenter or become
gas because we think that, we've made it and that racism's getting better, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Come on. But we don't fix the problem.
Yeah.
That's why we need representation in the key decision-making arenas, not coaches. Like let's be honest, what coach has ever made sustainable change to the game, apart from the way it's played?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
None of them. Arsene Wenger now is probably the only coach who's making change to the sport.
Yeah.
But that's to get more games.
Yeah. And even him, look what he had to do before he was able to make change.
Yeah, exactly. But why is there not somebody now, 15, 16, 17, who's going, look, I don't want to be a footballer. I want to be somebody who works for FIFA. I want to be somebody who works in the FA, making decisions. Why?
On that, and that's a great point, and we're going to carry on in the next episode. I think someone like you and more people like you who are doing more things than just your standard football to coaching pathway, I think it's about opening people who are 15, 16, 17 eyes to that even being possible. And like I said, we're going to touch on it in the next episode because we'll wrap this one up so people join us for part 2. But yeah, we're going to get into more about Ira's kind of career outside of just what's on the field, because I think that can be an inspiration to the younger generation for what they can actually aspire to, because I guess you can't, a lot of people can't be what they don't know or be what they can't see kind of thing. We've got so much more time picking in part 2, so please join us. Please stay subscribed so you don't miss the notification of when we drop on YouTube, Spotify, all that good stuff. Share this episode with a friend, and just get into the comments and DM us with your thoughts on the discussion, because there's a lot to unpick. For the Black community, for the white community, for those in and out of football. We've definitely touched on a lot. So thanks a lot.